That's what's before. This reminds me which one I went to visit.
Clarabelle.
I remember Clarabelle.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to meeting number 243 of TNG Banquet. My name is Bill Herrick. I'm the current president of TNG. I'm also one of the co-founders of TNG. We're celebrating our 25th year of operation. And it couldn't have happened without you. Let me go. Yep. Okay. I sort of promised someone I would help him sell his machine. So Dan Wyckoff, he's got an Intel Mac Pro. That's the big one. You can put 4 hard drives inside, suitable for video editing. It's an older machine, so the latest operating system it will run from Apple is Snow Leopard. But he's asking $350. He's got other stuff bundled with it. See Dan at the break. Okay.
Good deal, actually.
Okay, agenda. This is to keep me on track. Welcome. So first thing I say is, Mr. Kirtner, do we have any guests today?
Not signed up.
Do we have any new members?
No.
So no guests, no new members. If they were here, we'd give them a warm welcome anyway. Next, draft agenda for this year. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Then we'll do the news. This is me reminding myself what to do. We'll do the news. We'll do items for sale or wanted. For example, Dan Wyckoff's Intel Mac Pro that he's trying to sell. Then we'll do help desk. Then we'll do raffle. Again, a reminder, when you come into the meeting, before you find your seat, your chair, your space, take a look at the raffle items. That makes it a lot, we're a more efficient process then when people are here for the raffle, if they already know what's up there. Then we'll take a break, I call it the biological break. A reminder that the ladies' room is to my left, your right, on this floor, and the men's room is on my left, your right, second floor, basement, you go down one floor. Then we're going to break into 2 groups, our main presentation and our novice group. Main presentation, you've got me. I'm going to do a presentation on iOS 8. Only the features that I saw were the best. The things that I saw in iOS 8 that were, I went, whoa, hey, that makes my life easier. Those sorts of things. It is not a comprehensive overview of iOS 8. And then last but not least, we will adjourn. Okay, somehow we never seem to get that on the list. Okay, so draft program, 2014-2015. I'm always open for ideas. Okay, so right now what we've got planned is we're doing the best new iOS features in 8 today. November, tentatively, we're going to look at Yosemite. That's the Mac operating system. Not for the mobile devices, but for the laptops and the iMacs and the Mac Minis. Okay. Hopefully they're going to release it October 16th. Yeah. They're having a big event. They're going to announce something. Okay, so we'll find out what's going on. Other possibles is ViewScan. That's a program that lets you use old scanners with new operating systems. It's just amazing the number of scanners of that program. And then possibly we'll do Parallels Desktop for Mac OS 10, Mac 10. That's if you want to run Windows operating systems, or you want to run Linux operating systems on your Mac without having to reboot. And then the others, they're sort of like out there right now. Yes?
May I suggest
Yes.
that you include that list in the meeting announcement or the post-meeting email? Just
Okay.
So we have it in our copy.
Okay. again, remember, I have a limited amount of brain power and my imagination is unbelievably small, so I'm always open to suggestions. That's why I like hanging out with artists. They make me... Oop, okay. Yeah, okay, so I was at the ending point for that. Okay. So with that said, we did the welcome, there was nobody here. So the next thing would be news. Any news items from the members that you want to share? Going once, going twice? Just no. Okay, well, okay, here's some news for me. One, there's a vulnerability in macOS Lion, Mountain Lion, Mavericks, Snow Leopard, Leopard, Tiger, Panther, Jaguar, Cheetah, Puma.
Every Linux system in the world.
And the media calls it shell shock. And it has to do with your command line interface that you use in terminal called Bash. Apple has, for download, fixes for that vulnerability, Bash shell shock for Mavericks, Mountain Lion, and Lion. They did not release one for Snow Leopard. So this might encourage people to think about, you know, maybe, just maybe I should take that Snow Leopard box that I've got and maybe now's the time to take it up to Lion or to something else.
Are they pushing it through the updates process?
No, they're not. I've not seen it
That's
on
what I
the
read.
software update or the App Store. You have to go to the Apple support site and do a search for Bash shell shock. Okay, it's a relatively easy thing to fix. There are some other aficionados of legacy hardware who are have put up ways that you can secure that vulnerability in older Mac operating systems. It gets a little technical. I'm trying to convince the fellow that does the wiki for the 10.4 web browser, the one you can use on PowerPC machines, that he should just compile it as a executable that you can use to fix, and we'll see if I can get him to do that. Apple released their new operating system, iOS 8. They released the iPhone 6, the big phablet. You know, take the word phone and tablet, splooge them together, and you get phablet, so it's a big phone. Okay. I don't really know too much about that because I don't have a smartphone. Did anybody get the iPhone 6? What's your view
I
so
just
far?
have the regular 6, I don't have the 6 Plus.
Okay.
You're a big fan.
Is it a new phone experience? Which
No, it's
okay.
faster. You know,
Okay.
it's not completely different by any.
Okay, so transition is easy
Yeah,
and it's faster.
right.
Like, is it sort of like, oh my God, I can't
Well, I
believe
was going through a 4S. I never got to 5.
Okay,
So to me, it was considerably faster. And the screen
Yeah.
is really smooth and it's slightly curved at the top, which is easier for your thumb to slide across, I think.
okay. And easier to keep clean.
And easier to keep cleaning. It doesn't seem to get dirty, and I have kids.
Okay.
Do you keep it in your back pocket of your skinny jeans? Is
No, I
that how it got curved?
don't.
I wasn't going to go there.
It's like this.
There was this whole thing about the iPhone 6 bending, et cetera, and I think Tim Cook handled that the best when he said, we've only had 9 customers complain, okay, and they didn't just sit on it, okay, and then, I'm trying to remember if it was Underwriter Labs, it wasn't Underwriter Labs, one of the Consumer Reports. Yeah, so what they did was they subjected the new Apple phone to the same test that they do to other smartphones, and they're going like, it doesn't bend any more than, and the Samsung Galaxy sort of crunched. Yeah, okay. And then, of course, Tim Cook brought the media into their testing lab, which they've never done before, and showed them how they tested, et cetera. And so they decided it was overblown. Meanwhile, there's a new one. It's called Herrick. And all I know is that there's a fellow by the name of Alex Jones, and he's got this radio program, InfoWars. Okay, you know, the apocalypse is coming, and the government's going to take the guns, etc. And they have apparently discovered something about the iPhone that they think indicates that the government is going to take all our money, which they would do, but we're not going to let them.
Didn't Al Yankovic write a song about this recently? Didn't Al Yankovic recently do a song about this?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I got my last Macworld print version
Okay.
magazine yesterday,
Okay.
or we did, and they feature the phone on it. I always say it's an
Okay.
iPhone, but anyway, it's the last print version, and you're supposed to be able to go out and then get the digital version, but we did what they said, and it hasn't worked yet.
Okay. Macworld, the magazine, has stopped printing their magazine. They're going to be digital only. And so that's what I wondered, how they were going to respond to the
Yeah.
people that had subscriptions. Yes,
Yes.
Bill?
I've been subscribing electronically ever since they started.
Okay.
And I use a program called Zinnia, or
Zinio.
Zinnia Reader. And you can download that, and then you have to enter in your information, email address and all, and but it comes up just fine.
So it's ZINIO, if I remember. Did I get that right?
Just make sure you don't do the GENEIO,
Yeah.
because that's the malware.
What is
Okay.
it? ZINEU?
Z as in Zorro, and there it is.
The big thing was we just couldn't get it, because it didn't say flip over using their construction. And I wondered
They
if,
wanted to use a iTunes app for the smart version, and it just wouldn't load.
and I didn't know if anyone else had had
Right, that was Zinio that you were going to download for the iOS
Okay.
device.
I used it in.
So that's the right one? Sean?
Yes.
Okay, works just fine. But you had to go to their site and activate it, whether you have a
Oh,
subscription.
we
or
did
not.
that, we activated, we did everything.
Well, that was through iTunes. That was not Zinio.
Yeah, I just
The
wondered.
iTunes supposed to
It's a
have
Zinio app that you're going to download from iTunes.
Yeah, it just didn't work. We did
Okay.
everything they said. I didn't know if anyone else had some solution.
Okay. Other things going on, security vulnerabilities in Java, security vulnerabilities in Flash. So you update your Flash, update your Java. Just a little hint, I had one of these epiphanies. I got tired of having to constantly update Flash on my computers, the ones that are non-Adobe machines. So I just stopped, I deinstalled it, didn't have it on it, but every so often when I was web browsing, I wanted to see something where I required Flash. And then the light bulb went off. If you have Google Chrome, the web browser installed, it has Flash built into it. So you don't have to install Flash on your computer. It's already built into Chrome, Google Chrome, which means that I can have Flash not installed on my Mac, but if I use Google Chrome to do my web browsing, if it's a Flash thing, I can then see that video. I'm a sucker for these time sponges where, you know, cute little Shetland pony playing with elephants. You know, yeah, okay. Yes, Chuck.
I get a message that Flash needs to be updated, but when I go to settings and then Flash, it tells me it's okay.
And you're in a web browser when you get the,
It might be up, it just seems like it comes up automatically.
Okay.
Anytime I log on.
Most of the time when I've seen that, it's on a website that's trying to get you to install stuff on your machine that you shouldn't install.
That's what I thought, but, you know, when I go to the settings and then go to the Flash and say update, it says nothing's available for
You
it.
always want to do that first. That's how you want to update your Flash. Don't do it by any pop-up window.
Yeah. So I've gotten to the point where if there's a Mac utility program, they're based in Russia, it puts spyware on your machine, you're paying them, and I found websites where those ads come up, and those are the same websites where it tells me I need to update my Flash, but I really don't. So I'm trying not to say Mac key. Yeah. Okay. Another thing I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of, and that is a wonderful program that Shauna Collins told us about last month. And that program is called Adware Medic. Let me just get over here into applications. Okay, so this is the program, Adware Medic. And the website, you can either go to their download site for this software, which is www.adwaremedic.com, or you can go to their security blog, which I found interesting information on too, which is www.thesafemac.com. Okay. Yeah. THESAFE Mac.com. Now, I do house calls. Apple Store doesn't do house calls. In the past, when I've been at other people's houses and I've had to remove some adware or spyware like Genio, Geneo, and Genio, take me anywhere from 25 to 35 minutes to do that. Usually it would require me to go into terminal and I'm doing, remove commands, etc. This little guy, you download it, you put it in your applications folder, you click there, you say scan for malware, adware, boom, it tells you yes or no. If it finds it, you say remove it, you're done. Did a house call, the lady had an unbelievable amount of stuff on her Mac. 5 minutes, I was done, instead of the usual hour and a half, 45 minutes. So, very nice program. Yes?
Are you satisfied that it did it as completely as you would do in an hour, hour and a half?
It did a better job than I do, manually. Because it found stuff, hooks that I didn't know about.
What do you mean with this? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was getting the executables, but there was other stuff that was there. Yes?
Only for Macs?
Only for Macs. When I'm working on PCs, I'll use typically Spybot, Malwarebytes. There's a whole list of things that I run through. Glary utilities. And there's a bunch of utilities from another company called IOBIT, IOBIT for PCs that I'll use, especially if I'm looking to correct driver instabilities. Driver booster from IOBIT, and it's a freebie.
Driver booster?
Yeah, that's for PC. So that's if you're running, heaven help you, Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows Vista. Yes, Elton.
Did you say that this was a cost or a free download, this Adware Medic?
Adware Medic is a free download. It's what's referred to as donationware. So if you want to send the guy some money,
You mentioned MacKeeper a second ago.
yes.
What was it?
Well, the problem I have with that company, MacKeeper, is one, it installs malware on your computer, okay, and they can come into your machine and do stuff without your permission. Okay, they say they don't do it, but
They have the capability.
yeah, okay.
Bill?
Yes.
It's just, you get this through the iTunes app store, or do you go online and type in that name?
Okay, we're talking about Adware Medic.
Yes.
Adware Medic is not through the Apple Store. You have to go to their website.
Thank you.
Which was it the safemac.com or Adware Medic?
They're the same people on both.
Okay.
On one, he's talking about more security issues in general. So when I was researching some stuff about shell shock, the bash vulnerability, that was one of the websites that I took a look at, and he had a very nice redirect to the 10.4 browser people, where they had some remediation you can do on older Mac operating systems, but you had to do it in terminal. So I'm not going to show it here. Okay, who else? Okay, anybody else got any news?
Would this be a good point to have Ms. Kugler tell us about her husband's?
Oh, oh. Oh, yeah.
Now let him tell.
Okay, no. First question I have for you is, you went to the Apple store to get them to help you fix your iMac. Now, what did they tell you?
The Apple store told me that they first of all, I brought it in the original box. They scanned the barcode on it and said, sorry, it's too old. We can't repair it for you. Apple does not stock parts for any of their stuff that's older than 5 years. Therefore, if they opened it up to replace the hard drive, which is what had to be done, and they broke something else, they wouldn't be able to fix it because they wouldn't have the parts.
Okay.
Now, if you go to an Apple authorized service facility, they can use third-party parts that are not Apple-produced company parts, okay? But the nearest places were in Columbus or Cincinnati.
Right.
The
Micro Center in Columbus or Micro Center in Cincinnati.
So I opted to do it myself.
We'll tell them about going to Fairfield.
Okay, now,
Well, I went to the previous place that had replaced the hard drive in that machine 3 years ago, and that's no longer an Apple authorized facility.
was that Electronic Edge?
Electronic Computer Center or something like that in
Okay.
Fairborn. And so they don't have the equipment or the personnel to do Apple
Okay.
work anymore.
Okay. All right, so, the thing I don't understand is...
And it's 7 years old.
Your iMac is one of the all-metal iMacs,
24
all-metal
inch.
case. It's what, 2009, 2007?
7.
2007.
Yeah, December 2007 was purchased.
Okay. But it's still not end of life. It's not where Apple doesn't support it anymore.
Well, they don't support repair of it, what they told me. So
Okay.
they might, they're still producing operating system updates. They're still will work on that machine back that far.
Okay.
I
It's
keep
just-
waiting for the next one to come along, and they
Okay.
won't do that.
So one of the things to remember from what he's saying is that the folks at the Apple store, this was up at the Green,
The Green,
right?
mhm.
At the Green were saying if your machine's older than 5 years, they're not going to be able to do repair work there.
Right.
Did they offer to send it to?
No.
No.
They also pointed out that even if they could repair it,
Yes.
they would only be able to repair it back to its original configuration. So they would put in the original 500 gig drive that it came with, not the 1 terabyte drive that I had it updated to 3 years
Okay.
ago. Which I'd want to do that either.
Okay. So when Dick told me this, I'm going like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I could take this, when MacTown and Mac Depot were open, I could take the same machine in, they'd say, how soon do you need it back? They'd put in, dump, and you get it back, 5 days later. So, that sort of had me a little shocked. But, okay, so that's just something to sort of put away in the back of your head, that the Apple store may not be the place you need to get older stuff repaired. I've got a customer who's down in Lebanon who had an iMac much older than that have problems. He took it down to Micro Center. They said no problem. He got it back in 5 days. This was one of the first Intel iMacs with the all-plastic case. They charged them normal prices for parts and labor, a really good price for the 1 terabyte drive they were putting in there, and they did good work. Micro Center Columbus, it's been many years since I was over there. I don't know what the quality of their repair is. Okay, so anyway, so just sort of file that away. Now, but the thing that's important, the thing that I think is groundbreaking, the thing that, Dick deserves applause for, is he didn't just say, oh, okay, buy a new machine, recycle the old one. What did you do?
I went to macsales.com and I bought Toshiba drive, turns out to be.
Okay.
And a toolkit for installation
Okay.
on my iMac.
you talk to them and they
Yes,
gave you?
I talked to them. I figured there wasn't enough information that I could readily get my hands on
Okay.
from the website, so I called them and talked to somebody. And
Real human being?
Real human being.
Okay. No, this is important.
Well, I mean, that's what I prefer usually, although I do the chat thing once in a while too. And then they also have videos that you can view that show how to do different installations. So they had one for my series of iMacs, 2007, 2009, they're all about the same. And it shows you step by step. So
Okay.
while I was actually doing the surgery, I had the iPad next to me playing that video, and I could pause it every time I needed to stop it while I did the operation. And I had spent a day, a better part of a day, looking through that video about 4 or 5 times
Okay.
as well. So I became very familiar with it step by step.
Now, the tool set that they sent to you, okay, everything you needed was in it?
Yes,
Okay.
and more that I didn't need, so that
Okay.
might be for some other process in the future. But it has the suction cups for taking the glass off,
Okay.
and all the screwdrivers, the different torque sizes you need, things like that.
You
And
said
so
the hardest
after-
part was to get the lint off the screen, wasn't it?
Yeah, the hardest part, time-consuming wise, was putting it back together, was getting the lint cleaned off the inside of the glass, the back side of the glass, and the front side of the display.
Yeah.
Because every time I put the glass in place, I could see some
Yeah.
more white spots in
Yeah.
it. So that took probably 10 minutes or so.
Now you know why at Mactown, when they were working on iMacs, they'd do it under a hood and they'd have a constant airflow and it's filtered air coming up just to pull all that stuff away.
Makes sense.
Okay, so you took it apart, you took out the old hard drive, you put in the new hard drive, you put it back together, then what happened?
And I turned it on,
Yeah,
and I got a screen,
okay,
but nothing on it.
okay.
I said, okay, there's no intelligence on the hard drive. So I said, well, it was not clear at this point because I had conflicting directions at this point.
Okay.
And it said something about a recovery partition type thing. So
Mhm.
I hit that combination, I think it was Command R or Command P, during boot up. And all I got was a flashing folder symbol with a circle over it and a line through it.
Okay.
It's basically telling me, I don't know what to do, I have no information.
No, what it's telling you is there's no operating system on the hard drive.
Yeah.
At this
I wasn't going to get beyond that point.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'd read something else about hooking up an external drive that had a bootable, which I've been using Super Duper for years,
Okay.
and that was going to be my bootable
Put that in
external
quotes,
drive.
put that in your head. Super duper.
Yeah.
So you tell
Or
them that I
carbon
recommend.
copy cloner would do the same thing.
Carbon
for it.
copy cloner.
So I
another good one.
plugged the external drive in, and then when it rebooted, I hit the option key. Now I don't know
Okay.
if that was necessary or not.
It is.
If you have the operating system installed and you do that, you get a series of icons on the screen that give you a choice of which drive or which source to boot from.
Yes.
I never got that. It just started booting from the external drive right away.
Okay. That means you didn't hit option quick enough.
Well,
It saw the one operating system and it went.
it went there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you have a working iMac and you
Now,
don't.
it took a long time because it was a FireWire 800 connection, and
Correct.
it probably took 20 minutes before the boot process was complete.
That's not a long time.
Well, for me, and when you're waiting for it, it seems twice as long.
And it was
So-
your first, right?
It was the first time I've
It was
done
your
it.
first hard drive active.
Yeah.
Hard drive. So anyway, what I want you to take away from that is, one, some of our local repair services are not available to us. Before you take a machine into the Apple Store, you might want to call them and make sure that they can do the repairs there. I wonder what Best Buy would have said if you brought it into Best Buy, because they're also Apple
I
authorized.
called Best Buy that day.
And they wouldn't do anything?
Someone from Apple works at Best Buy. So they have the same answer.
Okay, but they used to be Apple authorized service.
The guy at the Apple Store told me if I had called the store, they would not have known to tell me whether they would repaired or not. But the best place to call is Apple,
Okay,
Apple support, basically,
okay.
and tell them the serial number of your machine, and they'll tell you, you know, what the company policy is.
Now, I have a homework assignment for you. Okay. What I'd like you to do is just sort of put down on a very short one-page memo the steps that you would do next time. Like call Apple directly first, give them the, okay? So we can share that to the members, so they have a cheat
Tell them
sheet.
about the warranty.
Oh, wait, we got more?
Before the process started, he wanted to know if he had a warranty on what was already in the machine, but he didn't have the serial number. The serial number was on the part that was in the machine.
I hadn't kept an external record of the part, of the serial number, because I had done it in this place at Fairborn. They had installed it and never, as far as I know, in my records, ever given me the serial number for that drive. So when I went to the Western Digital site, I didn't have the information to put in, because it was supposed to be a Black Series Western Digital that should have been 5-year warranty, and it failed.
The serial number would be physically on the drive.
Yeah.
Of the drive. Yeah.
So once I removed it, then I had it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Did
Oh, I
you go
see.
to the website and see?
Okay.
What was the place he got the fix
Another
from?
way to get to it before the computer goes bad?
Well, the reason I did this in the first place is
Yeah.
because Disk Utility was telling me that this drive had a problem
Yeah.
that could not be fixed, and it should be replaced as soon as possible. It was giving me, when I did when it came up with the list of drives, it was always in red. And so its status was failing, its smart status was failing. So that's what's prompted this whole thing to begin here.
There are some software out there that will repair that what Disk Utility cannot.
Yeah, and I have
Do you have the old
Drive
still?
Genius on the computer. However, for Drive Genius to work on the boot drive, you have to boot the machine from an external drive.
You've got the backup drive to do it.
But at the time, I was having difficulty getting this screen display come up with the alternatives, and sometimes the external boot drive, the super boot drive, wasn't showing up, and I didn't know why. Now, subsequent to having done all this repair, it's there every time, you know, so I don't know what was going on before.
Do you still have the old drive?
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't taken a sledgehammer to it.
Well,
yet.
don't, because if it's still under warranty, Western Digital will send you a brand new drive.
Yeah. Sometimes they make you send the old one back,
Still has all my stuff on it.
you know. That when I've tossed the old one away, that's when they want me to send it back. So I usually just hold on to it until I talk to them. Okay, but just something to keep in mind. When I do house calls with people, the first thing I do with their Mac is I say, give me a Ziploc freezer bag. Okay, so I get a Ziploc, the idea is big plastic bag with a zipper at the top. Then I go to About This Mac. So I go to that apple up in the corner, and I go to About This Mac. And then I click where it says More Info. Okay? And then, once I've gotten to More Info, on the newer machines, I would click System Report. On the older machines, it would come up with a Systems Report. And then, what I do is, I click where either SATA or ATA, depending on what kind of machine it is, whether it has a parallel hard drive, a parallel ATA, or a serial ATA hard drive. And I click on those devices. So here I've got the internal hard drive is a SATA drive, and it's telling me it's a Toshiba, and it's telling me the model number, and it's telling me the serial number. Okay. Then what I do is I just drag my pointer over it, I copy it, I bring up TextEdit, or something like TextEdit, click in there and I paste the info. Then I select the info and I make it bigger so I can read it, because the eyes aren't getting any better. Okay. Then, after I've got that information for the hard drive, the internal hard drive, the internal optical drive if it's got it, and the other basic information, like the serial number of the computer and that, I print it on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in big type. I put it into the Ziploc bag. I say, okay, this is your computer bag. From now on, whenever you do something like buy a new printer and it's hooked to that machine, put all the stuff that came with the printer in the bag. Put your original discs, if you have any, for the computer in the bag. And then you close it and you put it off to the side. And that way you keep all of this stuff and you've got that information for when bad things happen.
Never to be seen again.
Right. Okay?
That same Max Sales place has a device called the Universal Drive Adapter. It's $28, and it'll connect any bare drive for the last 15 years. And I use that all the time to recover. If you got stuff on your failing drive that you don't have on your backup, then if it'll start up, it'll show up as a disk.
They asked me if I wanted some kind of, it was only $5 or $6, so something I could put that old drive in and I could copy the information. And I said, no, I don't need that. I've got
just a
a
case.
bootable external drive already. And I've
Yeah.
got, so the rest of the story is
Yeah.
I had to format the drive,
Yeah.
use the disk utility,
Yep.
and then I had to copy all the information,
Yeah.
the data files,
Yep.
and that all took about 8 or 9 hours to complete.
Okay, now, if he had been using a cloud-based backup, like Carbonite, or there's a whole bunch of different companies that are out there that do that. Okay, you're downloading all of that stuff, several gigabytes of stuff, over the internet. Okay, it might take you 7, 8, 9, 10 days to download all this stuff. Okay.
This is roughly 780 gigabytes of information on my drive. I
How
have
much?
780 gigabytes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's data files,
Yeah.
apps and the whole nine yards. Operating system. I only have 10 gigabytes per month on my internet accessibility. There's no way I
Okay.
could have used any kind of cloud-based backup.
This is why I strongly recommend that you have some sort of physical backup of your drive in your house. Most people, the way to go would be Time Machine. You've got an external hard drive that's plugged into your Mac, and it, is constantly, every hour it looks to see what you changed, and it puts a copy of that stuff out there. Or, for people who've got several machines, something like a time capsule, where this thing is your wireless access point router, and it's got a hard drive in it, and all of your computers can back up to it. Okay? And separate backups, it keeps the data separate. Or something like using a utility like Super Duper or Carbon Copy Cloner to make a bootable copy of that drive.
Now, is a Time Machine bootable?
No,
Time Machine is not bootable.
but it will restore the entire hard drive.
And Time Machine will let you do things that a bootable clone won't do. For example, with Time Machine, I can say, take this machine back to how it was before I installed Mavericks. Put it back to where it was snow leopard. Okay? As long as I know the date that I did that.
As long as you have enough capacity on that drive that it hasn't deleted those that are older. Because
Correct.
it will delete the older versions at some point.
Correct. But remember, it's keeping, it does it in a very efficient manner. Time Machine backups are how backups should have been way back when, before, Veritas and all. As much as I like those backup systems, I mean, this is what retrospect should have been. Yes.
Just for the record, MacSales.com is also known as Otherworld Computing.
Right.
Yeah.
With Super Duper, when you started up your computer with your external Super Duper backup, all you needed to do was run Super Duper and transfer all your data back to the new drive, and you'd had a complete working drive as it was at that time.
Yeah, and I'm sure there were different approaches I could have taken. In my case, once I got the computer running off the Super Duper drive, I went to the installer program for Mavericks, with 10.9.5, which I had a copy of, that I had not allowed to be erased automatically.
Was that that on Super Duper Drive or?
It was on the Super Duper
Okay.
Drive. So I ran that program from the Super Duper Drive, and it installed Mavericks 1095 onto the new drive. And then part of that process, it says, do you have files you want to transfer over? And I said yes, and then that all kind of happens.
That's just kind of like doing a clean install, but
Yeah.
the Super Duper, you
And
actually
I
just-
noticed when every time Super Duper does a backup, it counts how many files are on the machine that it's backing up, and how many it's copying and all that stuff. So the original count was roughly 1,250,000 files. After the installation and on the new drive, I'm down to 1,180,000 files. So roughly 60, 70,000 files were gone.
Yeah, they could
So
be
that's-
log files, they could be cache
It's
files.
for garbage. And
Yeah.
if you do these incremental updates, I've always read that you kind of accumulate garbage over time, which can slow down the machine. And I do notice that it's responding faster, either because of the characteristics of the drive or the fact that there's less trash.
It's not fragmented.
Yes.
Question about, talk a little bit more about this. One of my favorite keystrokes was to copy the screen, you get the screen copy.
Oh, to do a screenshot,
Yeah,
Command
screenshot.
Shift 3.
Right.
To take a screenshot of, create a
But
picture
that
of the
doesn't seem to
screen.
work anymore, right?
No, Command Shift 3 works, Command Shift 4 works.
Command Shift 3 puts a image file on your desktop.
Yeah.
Command Shift 4 puts it into your clipboard. So if you want to take a picture of your screenshot and send it to somebody, you just hit Command Shift 4, paste it into your email, and away you go.
Well, okay, I guess that's a step down.
Command Shift 4
I'm sort of,
takes specific areas.
Yeah,
Command Shift, let's see.
Command Shift 3 does the screenshot of the entire window. Command Shift 4, you drag over the area you want. So, okay, let me close out some of these other things so it's a little less confusing.
It's Command Shift.
in the latest operating system, it still works.
Yeah.
Command Option Shift 4 will create a clipboard of the image instead of having another file on your desktop.
Okay, but then how do you get from the
Okay.
clipboard?
Then you go into whatever document you're working and just paste it.
Command Shift 4.
Okay, so you open a text file.
Here, let me show you. I'll just do a screenshot.
Remember, when you do a screenshot, you're taking a picture. It's not text. It's a picture of the stuff you're looking at. What I was doing was different. I was bringing up the report, I'm selecting that text, I'm copying the text, and then I'm pasting it into a document, so it's still text. The reason why that's important for me is I've got, 500, 600 customers where I keep some information about them. When I go to search, it has to be searchable. Text is searchable. Pictures are not as searchable.
So once again, how did you get the text copy?
Just
Very simple. Okay? I've got this thing in front of me. Okay. And I'm going to select this part of the text. So I've got this stuff selected in blue. Go to your Edit menu, select Copy. Or you can hold your Apple key and press C for copy. So now it's got it in the clipboard. Then I would bring up whatever I want to put it into. Let's say it's, here, I'll bring up Notepad.
Okay.
Let's say I want to put it in Notepad.
Okay.
So I say, hey, I want a new note, give me a new note. Then you go to your edit and you say paste. Or you do a Command V for paste.
All right.
Now that's text and it's searchable. So if I put in that serial number and I put it into Spotlight, it's going to find the document with it. Or I put in the person's name and I put their name in that text document with it. When I do a Spotlight search, it goes look at my external drive, how many, people, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here you go. And then I have the customer folder out there. Yes?
when do you want to talk about the camera roll and photo stream. You asked me to remind you.
Yeah, I'm going to do that in the presentation.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so with that said, let's see. Okay, we sort of did help desk inside news, but let's do help desk real quick. How am I doing for time? Am I
10:45.
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay, we're going to do real quick help desk. We're going to go to Bill and then we'll go to Rick.
Yeah, very quick question. I have a neat app that tells me how fast the internet is, and my friend's internet was 4 times faster than mine. Now I'm really concerned. And what is your experience with internet providers? I have AT&T, and it seems like maybe cable's much quicker. Just generally what you find in the area.
I used to use AT&T.
Yeah.
I found I could get 4 times the speed for the same money with Time Warner, even though I hate Time Warner. The other providers that are in the area, because they primarily work just with businesses, you never can find out what the price is unless you sign the contract. So like if I was going to go to Donet to have my internet provided from them, you know, until you actually sign the contract, you don't know what it's going to cost. Same thing with Cincinnati Bell. They seem to be very hard for me to pin down. Yes, Elton?
Just a quick question. My granddaughter called. She's got a 2010 MacBook that I bought for her for graduation, and the battery's going bad, and she needs to be replaced. And if she had it here, if I were in Maryland or she were here, I'd replace it. I'm trying to give her the best advice. Do they replace the batteries at the Apple store? She can get to an Apple store an hour away.
That would work. That would probably be the best way to go.
Are they very expensive about it? Do they normally do battery changes at the Apple store?
With the computers, yes, they'll do the battery changes. Sometimes with the mobile devices, they ship them off.
Right.
They
But
have
with
it
the
done.
MacBook, they could change it real
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah. 2010, that tells me it's that first one where there's one solid metal plate on the bottom and you don't have just a battery that floats out.
Oh.
So there's a bunch of, how many have you replaced over the years?
I don't know.
I'm
I've been
up
in,
like 25 or 30 of these. There's 8 screws that come out, the metal plate comes off, you take out the battery, you put in the new one, you get the screws back.
Roughly, what do they charge for that at Apple stores? Do you know? Nobody have a feel for it?
I would just call them and ask them.
Yeah, okay.
That's a way to find out.
It sounds like the best way to advise her to go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it's going to cost more for her to ship it, and then you ship it back, and it might get just
Right.
have her.
Maybe a Best Buy close by, or close by might do
Yeah.
it too.
Best Buy does it?
Some Best Buys are Apple authorized.
Okay.
So what I would do is what Dick suggested. Have her call Apple directly.
Yeah.
Okay, the Apple 1-800 support line.
Yeah.
Explain her problem. Have them tell her who's Apple authorized near her.
Okay.
Okay, let's let them do some heavy lifting. Yes, Ray?
Cover that nuisance thing every time I open up Office.
Okay. So every time Ray opens up Office, this is Microsoft Office, it looks like it's 2011 for the Mac. It's either 2007 or 2011.
2007, I think.
Okay, there is a problem with the Office database. Okay, what that means is that you need to run a utility that came with Office that will correct the problems with the Office database.
Okay, next page.
Yeah,
When
then the
I
next
do that,
page is,
it tries to sell me the news.
next page, when he does that, it comes up with Office 365 and how you should, sign up for a subscription to Office 365.
But the utility, you follow the instructions, it's on there,
Okay.
and all you get is an ad to buy the
Okay.
new system.
I'll have to look at it. It could be that they've done a redirect on it. It used to be that there was a physical executable
Right.
hidden in the Office install that repaired that. Okay, I know when you're using, do you have Outlook installed or do you have Entourage?
I don't have either one.
Okay, because that's the tool that I use to repair that database.
Bill?
Yes.
I mentioned to you when you were visiting me several weeks ago, that when I get into Office, and sometimes it gets unstable with one of the sub-programs.
Yes.
it says, it asks you to upgrade.
Yes.
When you go to upgrade, it's trying to sell you this package.
Yeah.
It's gonna be on the internet, but when you go back and look at Word or Office or something else, it says you're up to date and there's no problem.
Okay. So it could be that they're just trying to upsell you.
That's right, and that's what's happening on a variety of these things, that they're creating an artificial stimulant.
How many of you are running Windows 8 machines and running Office 2013? Okay. You want to be real careful with your Microsoft profile credentials, because if you get locked out of that, you have basically gotten locked out of all of your software that is associated with that. And they are not very responsive to unlocking. You get sent through an automated process that is not helpful.
We're not using Microsoft.com accounts for the login accounts at all because of that.
Okay. Okay.
I was just going to say, I've seen that database problem on my computer too with Office, but usually if I just close out Excel, for example, that's when I usually get it, and then reopen it, it loads the file just fine.
So I'm going to give myself a homework assignment, and I'm going to revisit Microsoft Office 2011, 2007, and 2008. Yeah, 2004, 2008, and 2011. Review my repair procedures. I will put together a cheat sheet on that. Okay, and if they have basically turned off that database repair utility, then that's bad. They shouldn't be doing that.
What's Microsoft?
They're supposed to still support it because of that agreement they have with the European Union, the one where they paid $520 million in fines. Okay, 2004 they'll just ignore you, but 2008 is still supported. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question about Pages on iPad. I created a document in Pages off of one of the templates in it. And then I went back to edit it and it wouldn't allow me to do that for some reason. Changes I made didn't manifest in the second attempt.
Okay.
So what was I doing?
What I do is I open the template and I immediately save it with a different name. Okay? Because the templates are locked, but when you save a copy of it, it's not locked. Okay. The other thing which happens to me every so often is if I haven't modified a file for a while, and I'm in one of those Apple iWork apps, it will lock it so that it's not modifiable, and you have to tell it, yeah, unlock it, I really do want to modify this. Okay, but I don't think that's what happened in your case. Your case, open the template, save it with a different name, then modify it. Yeah, I can see the light bulb go off with that one. Okay, that's good. All right, I think we need to halt and do raffle at this point. Okay, one of the questions when we were still doing that very chaotic help desk session that was actually news was, how do you repair that Microsoft database? That utility is still there. Bill Howe very politely refreshed my memory on how to get there. So if you have Microsoft Office on your computer, your Mac,
Either 8 or 11.
8 or 11, you would click on the Microsoft Office folder. I'm in column view.
But you're in your application.
And I'm in applications. Then I would click on the folder that says Office inside there. And then I would scroll down looking for a program called Microsoft Database Utility. And that's the program you run to replace, repair identities. And identities are really more associated with the email more than anything else. In this case, I would just click that rebuild button.
Bill,
Yeah.
did that, and it didn't work.
Okay. Then the next thing I would look at is your font load. I'd use FontBook to look at your font load, because one of the things that Microsoft Office is very sensitive to is fonts.
And I do have way too many in there.
Yeah, if
No,
Office
there's no such
doesn't like
thing as
big
too many
load.
fonts.
A really large
Greg.
font, it'll choke on it every time.
Greg? House visit, okay? We'll just, you and I will make arrangements, as long as you're not fishing. Okay, we'll take care of
Just so
it
you
then.
don't use that kind of language in my house.
Okay. All right. Meanwhile, let me close out all this other stuff and let me get down to our presentation.
I think if you have problems with Entourage, if you start Entourage with the shift key down, it'll start that database.
Okay, just a reminder, I'm saying this not to remind you, but to remind myself, I gave myself a homework assignment to review all of my Microsoft Office for the Mac troubleshooting techniques. I don't remember all of this stuff, folks. I actually keep a little book where I write this stuff down and then I update it as need be. All right, so we're going to do Bill's selection of the best new iOS 8 features. If Bill Wharton was here, I would point out I got the year right on my PowerPoint slide this month. I am your presenter. I put a photo that actually is taken this decade. My name, co-founder. If you have a question about the presentation, send it to me at this address, president@tmgdayton.org. Okay, so we're talking about iOS 8. It's the 8th major release of Apple's iOS mobile operating system. So this is the operating system, not for the Macs, not for the iMacs, not for the Mac Minis, not for the Mac Pros. It's for the mobile devices. iPads, iPod Touches, iPhones, iPad Minis, all that mobile stuff. And they announced it at Worldwide Developer Conference 2014, and they released it on September 17, 2014. Almost immediately, people started complaining about problems, blah, blah, blah. Current version is now iOS 8.0.2. And I'm betting we're going to have 8.1 come out in about 2 weeks. Okay. If you have a smartphone, an Apple iPhone, and you're on iOS 8, you want to be on 8.02. Don't wait for 8.1 to come out. Just go ahead and put it up on 8.02. Okay. A few other little disclaimer type things. There's tons of new features in iOS 8, but many of them only work with Mac OS X 10.10, Yosemite, which has not been released yet, okay, but is coming real soon. So I won't be talking about those. And others such as HomeKit and HealthKit have been delayed. They've had them and then they pulled them back. Right? Some of this is stuff to work with the watch. Some of it's to work with devices like lights and your furnace system and that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to talk about those. So we're going to show just the ones that I saw, I liked, I went, oh, that's cool, that's neat, that makes my life easier. So this is a very, very small sample of all the new features. Okay, so that was your disclaimer. Okay, so what are the things, just an overview of what we're doing here. Bill's best features. So the ones I'm going to cover, time permitting, are some home screen features, some features in the App Store, a thing called QuickType, which is now on in iOS 8, some things that they did in the Photo app, other things they did in the Camera app. And remember, Photo and Camera, they're like two parts of the same thing. One's for looking at the photos and organizing, and the other one's for taking the photos, but they talk to each other as if they're one. And then some other new mail features, and then very, very briefly, the new family sharing feature. Okay, now, at this point, I'm going to stop my presentation, and I'm going to give a piece of advice for folks that are updating a mobile device. Okay. Normally, we've got that mobile device in our hand, the iPhone, iPad mini, whatever, and we see that, oh, there's a new operating system. And we go ahead and we go into settings and we tap on it, we say, yeah, go ahead, download and install. That works very well, but you may run into a problem. If you've got a lot of stuff on your mobile device, you got to have enough room for the old operating system and the new operating system if the mobile device is updating itself. So what I recommend people do, and by people I'm talking about my sister, my mother-in-law, okay, my son-in-law, okay, my wife, she wouldn't listen. Okay. Is that instead of having the mobile device update itself, you take the mobile device, you plug your charge cable into it, unplug the other end of the charge cable from the little power brick, and you plug it into a computer. And then using the iTunes program, have iTunes download the new operating system. So it's putting the new operating system on your computer first. It's also backing up, making a backup copy of your mobile device onto the computer. So you got belt and suspenders. And then you tell it to go ahead and install it. So instead of it having to make all this space on the mobile device to do this, you're using your computer to do it. I mean, you paid good money for the computer. You should make it do its share of the heavy lifting.
The iOS doesn't screw up the fact that your Macs normally don't work with iOS, right?
Correct, because it's iTunes downloading it, holding it, and then putting it onto the...
How do you do that with iTunes? You open up iTunes and do what?
Okay,
I'm just curious, so you
I would take my mobile device.
Yeah, I know, I
Okay.
plug it in, I've got it
And I
plugged
have
in.
it plugged in.
Yeah.
Then what I would do, in fact, let me do it.
You can do it with mine if you want, it needs updating.
No, we don't want to link your device with my computer.
No, that's true, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you do, this is called tethering. You're hooking a cable up to it.
You have to have a knot tied in.
Absolutely.
Ignore it.
Keeps the aliens out.
Gotta slow down the electrons.
Okay, so here I've got iTunes up and running, and I'm saying continue, because this is...
I'm sorry, though, I just couldn't.
And then over here, I got to say, yeah, trust this computer. This is the club's laptop, so I normally don't have my stuff hooked up to it.
So you're for that?
Yeah, so here we are, and I'm going to just say agree,
This in iTunes.
and then I'm going to tell it, okay, I got to remember preferences.
You're watching you.
Hello, there we go. View, show sidebar. Okay, I like the sidebar because then I can see my devices. So there's this William Herrick's iPad. Okay, now, your iPad, your mobile device, it's still running and you can do stuff on it, but iTunes is talking to it. So in the sidebar, I clicked on William Herrick's iPad. Over here, I would click check for update.
So he's in iTunes now, right?
Then you let the computer go out, and it says this version of iPad software 802 is the current version. Let's pretend that 8.1 has been released. It would say, oh, there's a new version. Do you want me to download or download and install? I would tell it, just go ahead and download and install. All right. Now, another thing, another advantage of doing it this way, your mobile device, okay, is plugged into the computer and receiving power through the computer, so you don't accidentally run out of battery juice partway through your install. Since you
No,
don't-
mine always says, well, the thing, it says it's not charging, because I have it plugged into a thing in front, a USB port.
You should plug it into the actual,
Actual computer.
because you gotta have enough power for it.
Okay.
Okay, and
If you have an old- Bill, if you have
then
an
it
old-
would say over here, I would say, hey, back it up to this computer, back up now, and then I would let it do it. But that's the preferred way to update OSA, iOS on a mobile device. Okay,
Thank you very much.
so now we're going to go back to those features. Okay, so we go on to, let's look at some of the home screen stuff. Okay, this is all little minor stuff to most people, but to me it was a big deal. iBook, which used to be something that you had to download on your own, is now one of the default applications for the mobile devices. And they put it on the home screen, okay, which is the zero home screen. They have a new app called Tips, and it's a great little thing to show you how to use iOS, all sorts of neat little things that are in it. And then recent contacts on the home shelf. So let's just go to a home screen. Here's your zero home screen. iBooks now is going to appear on your home screen by default. So if you reorganize, reset stuff, you hit the reset button for your home organization, home screen organization. iBooks will always be on that first screen. And this is that other program that they released, Tips. And it's just a neat little way, you know, every so often, like once a week, just hit it, look to see what they've got in the way of new tips that are out there. Because let's face it, Mac users don't read manuals. You just don't read manuals. Okay, now, if you double click your home button, you get this in iOS 7 and iOS 8. It used to be called the dock shelf. I call it the home shelf now. Apple doesn't have a name for this. So one of the things that you're going to see that shows up in here is the apps that you've got running, and you can do your flip-flap back and forth. And up at the top, your recent contacts, people that you FaceTimed with or you iMessaged with. Okay, so in this case, I've got my son-in-law, Steve Snowden, my daughter, Lucille Snowden, and my sister, Linda Herrick. Okay, if I tap on the LH up there, because she won't put a picture up on her account, it opens up and it gives you a button to tap if you want a messenger, or if you want to do a video FaceTime, or if you want to do an audio FaceTime. And that's, you know, just, so instead of having to launch FaceTime, go over to contacts, go over to favorites, tap, 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 it's a nice quick way to get to those. Okay, like I said, this is not, you know, major world-shaking event stuff. This is just the little things that I find that make my life easy. I want to share them with my friends. Okay, so then over another thing we've got is the App Store app. And that's tough to say. App Store app. Okay, they added a thing called an Explore tab. And that includes a whole bunch of, it just makes it so much easier to find stuff on the iOS App Store. And I'll show you a screenshot in a minute. They've got trending searches. They've got these things called app bundles. So let's say you really like the software from this company. They'll give you a better price to buy all of their apps that they've got bundled. So it's sort of like you went into Walgreens and over with the toothpaste, you know, Crest has got, you know, the toothpaste and the mouthwash and the toothbrush shrink wrapped together, and it's a better price than if you bought them separate. It's that kind of stuff. So they're bringing many of the brick and mortar concepts of marketing to the sale of software now. Video previews and App Store search results scroll vertically on the iPhone. That was a big deal for some of my iPhone friends. Okay, so what does it look like? All right, so you hit the App Store, that blue square with the A. Down here, featured top charts, those are the ones that were there before. Purchased and updates, those are the ones that were there before. In the middle is an Explore button. If I tap that, I get this. First thing it shows me is, if I've got location services turned on, what programs are somehow associated with the location I'm at. If I did this at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, it would show me the app that I can use for my tour of their museum. Okay. If I did it at Kroger, it might show me the app that Kroger has for doing your online shopping. Okay. Over here, they got categories. Books, business, catalogs, education, entertainment, finance, blah, 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 health, fitness. Okay. You tap that and it shows you the apps that are over there, the most popular, et cetera, et cetera. It just makes it a lot easier to find stuff. Now, currently I'm on collections, and you're seeing 4 of what they call collections. If I did the flippy flap with my finger on the iPad, you'd see that they got a ton of these things there. So they've got collections for school teachers, collections for CPAs, collections for people who don't like collections. I mean, it's really very impressive. And it makes, again, easier to find stuff. Okay, moving right along. Quick type. Okay, you know how we've got Quick Look, QuickTime? This is a new technology that they're rolling out in iOS 8. As you write, QuickType uses predictive text to anticipate your next word. Okay? You tap it, and it'll give you choices. You tap a word to choose it. If you don't, you want to reject it, you tap on the block that's got what you type that's in quotes. So let me show you just a screenshot here of what it looks like when you're using your virtual keyboard. In this particular instance, I'm in the mail program. Okay, so I'm typing in mail. And I've typed part of the word feature. So I've got F-E-A-T there. There's a button here that's got F-E-A-T in quotes. So that's, if I want to keep that, that's where I would tap. And it's saying, oh, or it could be the word feature or features. If I wanted features with an S, I would tap there. If I want feature, I would tap there. Okay. I've been told that some writers with writer's block are using this to come up with what the next word should be.
What happens if you just type a U?
If I just type a U, then it'll look at another set of things. So, for example, if I was going to put in psychometric as a word, so I start to type PSY, it might show me psychology, psychic. As I put the CHO, it'll show me other choices. As I type, it starts to look at, try and guess what the word might be. Again, it's not something you have to use. Sometimes it just makes it easier, especially if you're having one of those senior days where you don't remember quite how to spell the word who
You
or
still have
wow.
to take your hand off the keyboard and select the word, though.
Yeah. Okay, moving right along. And that quick type feature is in any of the apps where you're using your keyboard. So that quick type feature will show up in Notes, it'll show up in Mail, it'll show up in Pages, it'll show up in anything that where you're doing typing. If you're in Word for the iPad, it shows up.
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
There's going to be many more alternative keyboards will become available from various vendors.
Very much so, yeah. And I'm not going to talk about that because I get confused with just my English, German, French, and Russian keyboard. But yeah, they're coming up with specialized keyboards, especially for those who are visually impaired. So there's just a lot of really neat stuff coming down the pike. but limited time today, so.
And it's virtual keyboards coming down the pike you're talking about, or real keyboards? Virtual.
They're more virtual keyboards.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So there's a keyboard that I was using when I was having some really bad fumble fingeritis going on, where it learns where I put my thumb, and it learns what key I mean that to be. So it had absolutely no I could be typing gobbledygook as far as a regular keyboard was concerned, but that particular keyboard would produce what I wanted to have show up. Okay, photos. In the photo app, they have removed the camera roll, the one that a lot of us were very familiar with. And they've done some other things in place of it. You can now search photos by location and time, all sorts of different things. They have a recently deleted album. So you have a photo, you've said, put it in the trash. Now you can recover it if you want to from that recently deleted album. New albums added for burst, slow-mo videos and time-lapse videos, and improved editing.
So how long is recent?
What I'm seeing is like stuff that I've done in the last day or so. I haven't really been paying attention to it. It's like when I saw it, I went, oh, I thought I threw that away. Why is it still there? And then I realized I was in recently deleted instead of something else. So here I am in Photos on an iPad. I'm not here in Photos. I'm not looking at shared photos. I'm in Albums. These are some of the albums that you're going to see now. Recently added, that's the photos that you've taken recently. Panoramas, because in camera you can do panoramas now, so it'll put all the panoramas in one album. Faces from my Mac, iPad photos, wallpapers, those are all ones that I created in iPhoto on my Mac, and I have it being synced to this, so ignore those. We've got recently deleted, so if I had something in recently added or one of these others and I trashed it, it's going to put it there. And all the videos are going to show up there, and the time-lapse are going to show up there. Okay, so just be aware that things are going to be moved around a little bit from what you're used to in iOS 8. Yeah?
And I'm just checking on my phone, and the recently deleted
Yep.
thing, it tells you how many days before it will be permanently deleted.
And how many days is it?
Something I believe yesterday says 29 days.
Okay, cool.
So,
So
yeah,
does it give you a chronological list, so you can go and see it chronologically if you've got everything?
Yes, you can. That's another view, the one that confuses me, because I don't think in terms of time. I'm looking for a particular. But that's the one where it shows like each day, and it's got the little thumbnails of the photos taken from the
I
internet.
assume you have that GPS turned on for this to work right?
If you want location services on it to work right, yeah.
But my camera, I would go and make sure I had all my vacation pictures from, say, one week altogether. So that's gone now on the camera roll.
The camera roll doesn't exist anymore. They got it by time and by location.
Okay, so we can do it like that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. By the way, lady with the iPhone, Davis,
yes,
Teresa,
yes.
can you come every month?
I'll try, I have children.
Okay, I understand. I was a house husband for 15 years. But you are really adding good content to the meeting. Thank you. Okay. And you're doing exactly what I want my members to do. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so moving on to the camera app. They have a shutter mode now. Okay, this is something you could do on a Samsung Galaxy tablet, where you could say, start the timer, and then you hurry and you get with the other people, and it takes your picture. Well, now we have that in iOS 8. And they have a thing called time-lapse videos. You have separate focus and exposure controls, and there is a panorama mode for iPad. So, just the ones that I've played with. Haven't done panorama yet. So, here we're in camera. Okay, let me get on this side. And you've got your controls on this side. If you're in photo or square photo, then the timer delay shows up. If you're not in photo or square, you won't see the timer delay. And you have a choice of off or 3 seconds or 10 seconds. So that's if you say, hey, let's do a family photo because I'll never have all you people here together again, but I want to be in the picture. I set it up, I get it framed, then I would select 10 seconds, timer, rush around, put myself down, and it would take the picture. But again, you're only going to see that feature show up if you're in square or photo. Square or photo.
Any chance that control bar can be put on the other side of the screen?
When you rotate it, it moves it around. You mean for lefties?
Yeah.
They haven't done that yet. And I keep sending them the emails from my sister. She's a lefty. About how they should do that. Okay. Now, we're still in, yeah.
I'm not sure about the iPad, but I know on the iPhone that you can use the volume buttons as a shutter trip.
Yeah, that's right. You can use the...
So if you're a lefty,
yeah,
you can do it this way.
yeah. I'll have to try it. I think it does the it's not the volume button, it's the,
Yeah, it's the...
yeah. I'll have to see what it is on, there is a way to do it on the iPad, to use one of the physical switches. Anyway, getting back to the camera app, in this area on the camera app, you had your choice before of a video or a photo or a square photo. They've added a fourth choice, and that's time-lapse. Right. This is where you don't want to do what's called burst mode, where you want to take boom, 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 a whole bunch of photos for as close as possible. But instead, you want it to do like time-lapse photography. You've got a bird feeder, and you want to see why the food disappears at 15 minutes after you put it out. So you set up the iPad, you have it focused on it, and you say time-lapse. Instead of it doing a video, it's going to take a picture, wait a little bit, take a picture, wait a little bit, take a picture. Treats it like a video, but there's more time in between the shots. Okay, time-lapse photography. So that's a choice, and notice it's giving you that red button to indicate that it is doing a recording. So it's sort of like halfway in between a photo and a video. Okay. But again, you won't, that feature is going to be seen down here. Another thing that they did, those controls confused people because you had to actually put your finger on it and slide stuff. Now you just tap on the one you want and it does it. So they changed that.
So can you adjust the time lapse?
I don't know yet.
In some of the third-party apps, you can adjust the time lapse to whatever you want.
Yeah, there's a free app, well, it used to be free, I don't know if it's still free, but it was called Pro XL Camera for iPad, and that allowed me to do all sorts of stuff. The problem is, because there were so many features, I don't use it because it confuses me. Because I don't take pictures that often, I take screenshots mostly. All right, next one is the Mail app. They've added a whole bunch of stuff to it. Swipe to the left for options to flag an email for follow-up or move it to a folder. So you're in your sidebar in Mail. That's where they're talking about you swiping. Okay? If you swipe to the left, it does other stuff. And if you go into your Mail settings, you can change to a certain extent what it does. Swipe all the way down across the screen to the left to delete immediately. Ability to swipe Mail Compose sheet down, allowing access to the rest of the one's mailbox to gather the information. Okay, basically, you're writing an email, and you go, oh crap, I need to read another email to be able to finish this. So, what it does is, okay, we'll pretend that we're writing an email to my sister, GSOTN, Good Sister of the North. Okay? And I've got some stuff that I'm typing, and I go, oh, wait a minute, I got to see that other email. So what I would do is I'd put my finger at the header of this where it says test message, and I'd pull down. It doesn't save it as a draft, it just says, hey, let's just get it out of the way for a minute. So down here is where that test message is now. Then I can look at the other thing, for example, a picture of a guy working on an iMac on his dining room table. By the way, very important, if you ever have to take something apart where there's all sorts of little screws, notice he's using the Easter egg method. You know how when you dye Easter eggs, you got all these little bowls with the different colors laid out? So all these little custard bowls that are here, those are for the screws.
Muffin pans work very nicely also.
Muffin pans work very well, or the iFixit magnetic pan is very well. But I call it the Easter egg. And you can always tell somebody who knows what they're doing because you'll see those little cups like that.
Well, you can't see it, but I'm also on an anti-static mat that's underneath the machine.
Okay.
And at times I was wearing one of these headlight,
Okay.
LED light things, because you need your two hands, but
Yep.
you need to illuminate something.
Yes. And some of us will have the headlight and the magnifier glasses. Other thing to notice, for those of you who remember the movie Tron, where he had the little globe that followed him around, apparently Dick's got one of those also. All right, but the thing is, I can get that message I'm trying to write out of the way, go look at other stuff, and then come back and just tap on test message, and my draft, my field where I'm writing the email will come up.
Bill, are you saying you can go to another message and copy and paste?
Yeah, so I can tap over here, have something else come up, grab some text, tap here, have it come back up, and then put that in.
Could you go to another application?
I haven't, well, sure, you can always go to another application.
But I mean, would you lose your test message?
No, you're not going to lose your text message. The way I do that is I double tap my home button. It shows me all the programs that are running. I flip to the one I want, tap that, get whatever I need, double tap my home button, then go back to mail and tap that. That's the quickest way to do it. As opposed to the four-finger swipe, because I never remember what order the programs are in. It's just easier to do it from the other one. Okay, so if you tap the test message, then it goes back to looking like this. Your message comes back. Notice this is not saved as a draft. It's all in memory. So if it's one of these deals where you go, you know, I really need to go to the library, do some research, whatever. You're laughing, but I do this. Okay. Then you would say, hey, save it as a draft. Okay. But this is for when you got just quickie things you want to. And then last but not least, now this is a feature I have not tried yet, but it's Apple's way of addressing a problem that many people have expressed frustration with Apple IDs. So for example, you're a married, well, you're a couple. I won't even say married, you're just a couple, okay? And you're using the same devices. Does it really make sense for both of you to buy Pages, buy Pages twice, so it's associated with both Apple IDs? Well, family sharing allows you to take up to 6 total Apple IDs and have them treated in terms of purchasing as if it's one. The downside is they all have to be on one credit card, the same credit card. But it would be a way that you could have minor children be able to update their apps, but at the same time they're not able to, you don't have to give them their own credit card, they don't have to have their own buying capability with Apple. So they're doing some things to respond to some of the unevenness of how Apple IDs work. This idea, it's sort of like you've got a beerman's charge, and you're tired of having to give your credit card to your minor daughter, teenage daughter, when she goes shopping. So what you do is you call up Beerman's and you say, hey, she's allowed to make purchases on this account. So she's part of your family credit plan. Yes?
So my sister set this up with her minor children who are a little bit older than mine.
Okay.
And so, what she does is, they each have their own Apple ID, and they only have like their own information as far as their
Right.
calendars and their apps on their
Yeah.
touches. And so if they want to buy something, she's like the gatekeeper or whatever. They'll say, I want to buy this app, and she'll say, yay, and then it comes to her, and she'll say yes or no, and to approve it. So she doesn't have, like you said, same thing with the calendar. You know, son A doesn't need to know son B's hockey schedule, and they can invite each other to the events, and so she knows about all of them, but it's kind of giving them a little bit more, you know, they're responsible for their own events a little bit
Do
more.
you prefer Teresa or Terry?
Teresa.
Teresa, okay. Teresa brought up another feature that I didn't mention, which is when you set this up, you also have a thing called family calendar that gets created. Now, I'm an empty nester now, but when I wasn't an empty nester, sometimes it got a little chaotic figuring out tennis lesson, Girl Scout, this, that. Okay. With a family calendar, you can, if you're the master account, have the grand overlook, if you will, of the family activities and be able to figure out, you know, when you need to drive so-and-so where. So again, I brought this up because it's solving problems that people were having with Apple IDs. One more thing. They got this idea not from the average consumer, but from school districts that were complaining. They're deploying iPads to teachers, and the teachers were buying stuff for their classroom on their own Apple ID, okay, which meant if they left the school, the apps can't be used at the school. So what they ended up doing was creating commercial accounts. So central purchasing of the school district is like mom, okay, and teachers are associated with it, and they're buying stuff, but it's on the school's account. So it's not coming out of their pocket, it's coming out of the school's account. But mom has got control over it. So one of the people who was recently hired and brought in to head up the Apple stores, and it's a lady, by the way. She looked at this and she said, okay, so we're doing this for the school districts and we're doing it for these corporate accounts. Why don't we do it for our customers? And they were like, oh, never thought of that. Okay. Yeah, all right.
This lady never talked to the head of Microsoft yet.
I don't
The guy
remember.
that got himself in trouble for saying it was just karma for women.
Oh, okay, you're talking about Matthew Sadler. Yeah. Actually, it's a misquote, but, you know, he's learned that the glow is off. At this point, he's, you know, in the headlights again. Yeah.
For this family sharing, do all of the devices have to be running iOS 8?
My understanding, yes. And that when Yosemite comes out, this will then be available under Yosemite. Okay, but again, remember, Yosemite's still in beta testing. They're on Grandmaster 3, and you know, you don't know until it actually comes out. Yes.
Doing FaceTime, can you still do it with somebody that would be on 7?
Yeah.
7 and 8 would be compatible with each other?
FaceTime still works, even if they're on 6, even if they're on 5. I'm trying to remember if iOS 4 had FaceTime or not. I'm going to say we were still doing iChat back then, so. Yeah, it works fine. I did that the other day with a relative, and it was like, oh, hi.
On FaceTime, do they have to be on FaceTime? In other words, what's the compatibility between FaceTime and Skype?
Okay, FaceTime, they got to be running the FaceTime app. If you've got people that are on PCs, that are other places that don't necessarily have Apple devices, then I say use Microsoft Skype. Okay, so you have Microsoft Skype for the iPad, you have Microsoft Skype for the Mac, you have, okay. Yes?
Skype is kind of stupid with respect to, well, it's an iTunes bug, really. it will allow you to update an app, bring down an updated app that will not run on your older device.
Ooh, that's
So,
bad.
yeah. So I've gone into mobile applications and put, restored the old .ipa file, which I'm wondering in family sharing if they're all the same. Those things are key
I don't know
to the
yet,
account.
because of course, you know, I'm not allowed to use my wife's credit card. I have to use my own.
Yeah, years back when we had iChat, we could have three-way or four-way conferencing, and we did that.
You
Are
can
they
do
doing that with
three-way,
FaceTime?
four-way conferences with FaceTime, but audio only.
Audio only.
You can't do the video.
But you could do audio.
You can do audio.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know the hardware requirements? What's the oldest device that you can run iOS 8 on?
iPad 2s will run it. iPhone, easiest way is go to the Apple iOS 8 page. All the way at the bottom, they got a screenshot of all the devices that can run it.
Bill,
Yeah.
some of these really neat things you're showing us, is that going to show up in what's coming up next? Yosemite?
There are things that will allow continuity between the two operating systems. For example, AirDrop. You can currently AirDrop. If I've got a file and I want to send it to Bill Howe and I are on the same local area Wi-Fi network, I can look to see who there is using AirDrop, and then I can say, send this file to Bill. Bill gets a little message that says, hey, do you want this file from Bill Herrick? He looks at it and says, hell no. Clicks reject.
Hi, George Perry.
Yeah, okay. But if you click accept, it would move it. You'll be able to do that between a mobile device and a Mac, and a Mac and a mobile device.
Well, I'm thinking
Yosemite with iOS.
The way some of the software works, the photo thing, and anticipating what your next word is, and things like that.
Okay, I got to. That's the direction they're going to go.
Okay. Close enough.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
I just installed Golden Master 3 for Yosemite. I haven't had time to play with it to see what happens when I start typing it on the LS. Okay, so again, just to do closure here. Lots of new features in iOS 8. These are just the ones that sort of, I go, ooh, makes my life easier.
I read that if you install it and change your mind, you should say, I wish I stayed with 7. It's too late now
That is
because
correct.
Apple is no longer signed in the previous.
Correct. That is correct. And that it's a one-way migration. In other words, if you go to iOS 8, you cannot downgrade your device to iOS 7.
Would you want to?
Well, yeah, there's ways to do it, but for normal people.
No, I mean, iTunes has a backup.
Yeah, see, some people don't have that backup.
Yeah.
Some people don't do belt and suspender the way we do because we've been burned so many times.
They just back up the icon.
As long as they didn't do another
So
backup.
anyway, what I would say is take a look, explore your devices, see how some of these work, and then bring back any questions you have to next month's meeting. Okay?
No.
Yeah, Rod, you get to.
What's
Future schedules, if you're done, what the future schedules.
We've got a big event coming October 16th. Apple's doing all sorts of announcements. Depending on what they announce, that's pretty much going to be what we do at the next meeting. I'm anticipating that they're going to be announcing HomeKit stuff and HeatKit stuff, a health kit.
Did you ever
Hey,
hear
well, at least some of you know what a HeatKit is. Chances are, next month we're going to be talking about Mac OS 10.10 Yosemite. The new one, I'm anticipating they're going to release it on the 16th.
How they jump from 8 to 10?
Oh, you're talking about on my okay.
Did they want to be like OS 10?
Meeting is officially adjourned. If you need to leave, go ahead. The question on the floor is, why did Microsoft decide to go from Windows 8 to Windows 10? There was a technical problem they ran into. Most apps, when they are pre-installed, you're in your app, your Microsoft installer, it does an operating system check. Okay, so you have legacy apps for Windows 95 and Windows 98. They don't look for Windows 95, Windows 98. They look for Windows 9.
I see.
And so you have apps that cannot run on Windows, the next Windows, saying, oh yeah, fine, and install it. And because those installer procedures are so much different now, you couldn't use the installer to uninstall it. So they're there and, they're like stuck with the stick. Yeah. But that's why.
I just figured if this didn't